Varsity Club, welcome back to another classic. Ladies and gentlemen, the end of the NBA season is here. I know. 5 episodes in, we've already completed the season, but it'll be obviously slower going into next year. It's just, we're trying to be bad. And the good news, we're bad. Gotta love it. Really quickly though, let's cover the sort of how the season wrapped up, some of the awards and things of that nature. So first up, Luka Doncic is going to be your MVP. Not really surprised by that one. 34 and a half, 8-8, almost a steal and a half a game, almost a block per game. He shot really well. He deserves it. Your rookie of the year is going to be Evan Mobley of the Cavs. Again, this can happen in real life because this dude, if healthy, is really talented. Your sixth man of the year is a surprise to me. Kelly Olynyk is going to take it with 14 points, 8.5 rebounds, 4 assists. I mean, it's a heck of a stat line for a guy off the bench. So I get it, but really, nobody else is better. If you played NBA 2K, you know defensive player of the year is literally almost always Giannis Antetokounmpo. 26 points per game, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.5 steals, 2.5 blocks per game. It's a human highlight reel. But look at this. We got an award. Cole Anthony's going to get your most improved player of the year. 14, almost 15 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, almost 5 assists, almost a steal per game, half a block per game. Shot 46, 85, and 33. The 3-point we want to obviously improve, but honestly, I'll take an award for our guy. And coach of the year is not going to be Coach Mervin McMurvin. Quinn Snyder takes it home for the Utah Jazz, 56 and 26 in the year. Look, the Jazz are a really tough team. I'm not surprised. Oh, there's an executive of the year award. That's not us. That's also the Jazz. I hate it here. Just kidding. I love it. You do really quickly for your All-NBA first team. You see Luka, James Harden, Giannis, LeBron, Nikola Jokic. Your second team is Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell, Julius Randle, Kawhi Leonard, and Joel Embiid. Your third team is Steph Curry, Westbrook, Anthony Davis, Tatum, and Bam Adebayo. Surprised Curry's on the third team, but you know what? He still had a good year. Your all-defensive first team is Ben Simmons, even though he's not playing in real life. Paul George, Giannis, Kawhi, and Bam. Your second team is Drew Holiday, Chris Paul, LeBron James, Jimmy Butler, and Rudy Gobert. If you look at the rookies, you see Evan Mobley, Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Scotty Barnes, and Jalen Suggs on the first team. And then your second team goes to Josh Giddey, Franz Wagner, who obviously butchered us in that game we played against them, Jonathan Kuminga, Davion Mitchell, and our guy, Sengun. Show some love to the big fella. Now to see how our guys did, Steph Curry had 16.5 points, tied with Terrence Mann for most in our team. And then if we see what actually happened to him, it looks like we have an injury. I would love to be able to see this injury. The injury is... okay, sprained ankle, so he's gonna be fine. And Cole Anthony had almost 15, Jordan Poole 12.5, Horton Tucker had 11. He came back obviously from his injury. Sengun averaged 10 with about 6 rebounds per game. Herder ended up with 9 for us overall. Again, we'll get him more involved probably going into next season. Rebounds, again, Looney averaged almost 7 for us. Assists per game, Cole Anthony led that at just under 5. Steals per game, we had 1.2 from Horton Tucker. Delon Wright did well, so did Herder as well. Again, Herder's a guy that I think will be playing a much larger role and probably starting next season with Curry probably off the bench, but we'll figure that out after the draft and free agency. In terms of the NBA playoffs, we're going to have a playoff game, looks like between Phoenix, the Clippers, Minnesota, Sacramento. In the Western Conference, it's Utah versus one of those teams. Then Seattle, Dallas. Seattle did obviously make it into the postseason. The Lakers and Portland, and the New Orleans, and whoever the other team is. And then on the Eastern side, we have a playoff game or play-in game between Miami and Chicago, Cleveland and Washington. The winner of those games will face Brooklyn and Boston. Then you have Atlanta versus Philly, Milwaukee versus the New York Knicks. Again, a lot of cool matchups, but let's just see who wins. Things that I did not expect to say: the Utah Jazz are your NBA champions. Seattle actually won their first round matchup, which is pretty wild. The Lakers get blown out in the first round. And then Donovan Mitchell is your MVP in the NBA Finals. 36 points per game, almost 4 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 2+ steals. The dude deserves it. Good for him. Player retirements, a couple ones to note. Udonis Haslem finally retires. Probably will be working for Miami very soon because he's a valued member of that organization. Ariza retires in the Lakers. Iguodala finally retires. Rajon Rondo, Paul Millsap. JJ Redick ultimately goes without a team this season apparently. A couple other players to note, but really those were the main ones to cover. And one of my favorite coaches of all time, Greg Popovich, is going to retire. I'm assuming Becky Hammond becomes the coach of the Spurs, but I hope that happens in real life. Not sure if it'll happen in 2K. A couple things popped up here with the rule changes for the league meetings, and only one actually got approved. The one that got approved was the top teams from each conference are seated in their respective conference based on record. That was 25-7. Ended up going ahead with that one. The other ones were a couple different things, but maximum length of a contract is 3 years. That would have been insane. There was a couple other ones that were really close. All-star game after 3 quarters, the team to reach the highest scoring team's total plus 40 points wins. Couple of interesting ones, but really only one got approved. Big thing though is the NBA draft lottery. The Thunder have the highest chance at 13.9. Then it's the Magic, Rockets, Knicks, and Spurs. you will find us at 13. We won way too many games at the end of the season. Getting into that top 10, that top 6 range is highly unlikely. Let's just see how we do. The results are in. OKC, the Spurs, and the Wizards are your top 3 teams. Kind of blows my mind a little bit. Where are we at? 13. I hate it here. So the combine has officially come out. We're seeing some official stats from some of these guys that we've been obviously interested in. Larry Anderson has the fastest, or one of the faster sprint times for sort of big guys. Fastest sprint time ultimately though was Jared Spaghetti, coming out to 2.99. The vertical, well, you know, if you care about the vertical. Corey Fleming, a point guard, a 6'3" point guard, has a 44-inch vertical. This man is pretty much Steve Francis right now. Kelly Strickland, a center, has a 44-inch vertical. Moses Hutchinson and Gregor Crawford both have pretty tall ones there. De'Aaron Rose got a pretty crazy one. This dude, the shooting guard, the 6'6" shooting guard, has got a crazy one. I mean, some of these dudes are jumping literally out of the gym. Bench press, see some of the stronger players are. I'm assuming these would be power forwards or centers. Moses Hutchinson, the small forward, actually is one of the stronger ones. The 6'10", 215. He benched 27 reps. Did not expect that at all. Gombo had 25 reps of the 40-inch vertical. Kelly Strickland, Dion Monroe, Royce Mitchell's up there, Nick Campbell. These dudes are doing pretty well. I want to see, though, who's hitting the moving NBA three-pointers. So take a look at that. 20 out of 25. Larry Anderson hits a lot. VJ Latore hits some. Pretty much the same clip. I mean, there's some elite shooters out here. The standing NBA three-point shot. Howard Foster, a center? A 6'11" center. 22 of 25. As did Arifo Zant, a point guard. As did Stephen Brooks, another point guard. Cole Cooper Dyke, Wallace Jeffries, Cody Sharp. I mean, you got honestly some pretty elite shooters. I thought some of these numbers would have been a little bit higher for some of these guys, like Cody King, who was heralded as one of the best three-point shooters coming in. He's listed as a sharpshooter, but a lot of these dudes are hitting at a pretty elite spot. Casey Fletcher, another center, hitting at a high clip. What other centers do we have out here? Albert Mason. And really, outside of Jared Justice, there's nothing else really impressive. Okay, so we did our pre-draft workouts. We had to select 12 players that we ultimately wanted to see. So we selected Steve Alexander, who came back. I think not, I mean, we don't really think he's going to be a great shooter, but inside he was 22 of 25. Would have loved to seen that be a little bit higher, if you ask me. His vert was still great. His bench was really high. Larry Anderson came back running a little bit slower than he ran sort of in the combine. But ultimately, he comes out pretty strong. His shooting is, I think, pretty good for the most part. Not elite as much as I want from deep. Byron Banchero, who's a 6'11", 199-pound dude with 24 badges, a slasher, 44-inch vert, a little bit stronger than I thought he was going to be. His shooting from deep, definitely on moving, is terrible. Standing threes are, I think, serviceable right now. Damian Cannon, another big fella. As you couldn't tell, we're looking at basically centers, small forwards, and power forwards. We could gamble on a point guard if we need to, or a shooting guard, but honestly feel like we're pretty good there. The last couple ones we looked at here: Casey Fletcher, Howard Foster, Giovanni Garbaldi is a guy that I really want to ultimately take a look at. 2025 for this one here, as we can see, for his, this is his standing college three-pointer, so he's got good range from deep twos, I guess, in the NBA. His moving 15-foot jump shot is pretty high for a center as well. Moses Hutchinson, some of these guys we ultimately are just looking at in case they fall, like Moses. Cody King shot 20-25 from 3. Again, he's one of the better shooters in the draft. Would love to see that shot a little bit higher in his three-pointers, though. Oddly enough, he shot better from his standing three-point shot than did his moving. His moving was 20-25. His standing was 19. So he shot better moving than standing, which is what it is. Alfonso Lewis Jr., another really good talent here. Not a great shooter. Same thing here with Royce Mitchell. I want a guy that can kind of stretch the floor a little bit for some of our big guys, but whatever. We've got good info. And Gombo's an interesting player. We could go for him too. 6'10", 258. If you look at his prospect card, they're saying ceiling all NBA. Not really anybody to compare him to. Floor is Cliff Robinson, who is a great NBA player. This guy's got a pretty good shot. Standing NBA 3, 14-25 from a 6'10" dude that plays power forward. That's as strong as he is with that many badges. This could be a guy to look at. I'm looking at Ngombo, maybe Royce Mitchell. Giovanni Garbaldi might go before us. Howard Foster obviously is a really good shooting big man. Don't know what he can do inside. Cannon, Banchero, Alexander is another great one. There's a lot of different players to look at. We just got to figure out what we want and who falls where. Time has come for the NBA draft. And honestly, picking at 13 is it bums me out a little bit because there's some really good talent on top of this draft that I think we may miss out on because we happen to win too many games at the end of the year. But you know what? Our team is gelling. Our team is fighting. And it's time to see who's going to be added to our team in a big NBA draft. Up first is Giovanni Garbaldi. This is the dude I thought was gonna slip to us, and he goes #1 overall. You have got to be kidding me. I didn't think I could be this bummed after the first pick. I thought this dude was gonna fall to us, and we had no shot. Up next, the Spurs take Cody King, the sharpshooter. I thought he might have fallen a little bit, but again, the Spurs know a good shooter is a great shooter, and they can make him work in that system. At 3, Andre Little, who I thought could have won top 2, honestly, ends up going there's #3 pick to the Washington Wizards, who already have a loaded team. They just got another really good all-around player. At 4, we see VJ Latore. So look, we took Cole Anthony from the Magic, and now the Magic get his replacement out of Duke. This dude is just as good, if not possibly better. It's a big pick. 5, we see Moses Hutchinson. Again, I'm really surprised with a couple of guys that have not gone yet. I'm really surprised that Moses honestly went 5. Thought he was maybe an 8 to 9 or 10 guy, but hey, Houston knows what they want. Another small forward and an already pretty heavy shooting guard small forward team. Byron Banchero, who probably has the highest upside. He's been compared to Giannis Antetokounmpo, goes to an already really talented Charlotte Hornets team. They have Bridges, they have Banchero, who can play anywhere from 1 through 4, maybe even 5 if you wanted to. You pair him with LaMelo and some other guys they have there. The Hornets might be really interesting. This is the guy that I thought was going to go #1. Boris Drobniak goes to the Memphis Grizzlies as shooting guard. You're pairing him with John Morant. The Grizzlies are probably going to be a playoff team come next year. This dude is the truth, I promise you. I have aggressively been trying to get in and make a trade, but nobody wants to trade with us right now. The Warriors then take Larry Anderson, another guy that was on our board, 6'7", a little undersized for some people, but this dude is an absolute hooper. They compare him to Adam Morrison, but actually a dude that they think could translate to the NBA. It's a really big get for a team that already has a ton of talent. Royce Mitchell, God, all the players we wanted. Royce Mitchell, the power forward, is going to Denver. The rich get already even more rich. Javi Sunvold ends up going, the 6'7" point guard, goes to Toronto, which is interesting because he actually has a year in his Euros that he has to still play. So he's going to be not coming this next season, but the season after that. So they won't have him this year, but the year after, they'll get a really talented point guard that'll help fill that void that Kyle Lowry left after they traded him. There's been a trade. Wait, Detroit traded. Oh, this is big. So Detroit's 11th overall pick, and then their 2023 second round pick for Royce Mitchell and Reggie Bullock. That's a really good pick for Detroit. All right, look, at the 11th spot, you're not getting anything better. You trade something else in the future and you get Royce Mitchell. That's a W for them. The Nuggets here on the clock take Jackie Gilmore. They just had a pick a little bit ago. Obviously, with this trade coming in, they get something else and a really talented point guard. I don't know what this means for Jamal Murray, but Gilmore can at least be a really good backup immediately for them. The pick before us, the Indiana Pacers take Steve Alexander. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to jinx it. This is literally the guy that I wanted to get out of UCLA. I was sold on this being the guy for our team, and they took him. You got to choose a prospect, and a lot of the ones that we wanted are gone. But you know what? I don't know why I'm looking at center so much. We have Şengün, and Şengün has actually been really good, so we don't really need a guy to replace him. But power forward is a spot that I think we definitely need some help. Theodore Ngombo is still there. He has 16 badges. He's a glass cleaning lockdown, a 6'10", 258. He's got brick wall, pogo stick, box, chase down artist, intimidator, post lockdown. This dude has a lot of stuff. Finishing as well. Posterizer, back down punisher, dream shake, drop stepper, put back boss. You know what? I think we're going to go with Theodore. Yes, there are a lot of good players that are still on the board. And if you look at sort of the overall rankings, again, Damian Cannon is still there. Ooh, maybe that's a guy we look at, actually. Mid-range specialist, drop stepper, lob city finisher. I mean, this dude has badges out the wazoo right now. Corner specialist. Who do they compare him to ultimately? Chris Bosh. He's got Chris Bosh comparisons. Oh my God, I don't know what to do. This is a tough one between Cannon and between Ngombo, but I think I want to go Ngombo because he can also play center, where Cannon is probably not going to be as good in the low post. Yes, Cannon is compared to Chris Bosh for a mid-range specialist, but I need a guy that can just do it all, and I think Ngombo is that guy. So Theodore Ngombo, welcome to Louisville. In the first round, another trade ends up popping up, a 2022 first round 22nd overall pick for Kevin Love and Lamar Stevens. Interesting. Again, recapping the draft, Giovanni Garibaldi ends up going #1 overall. When most mock drafts had him pegged at #8, the Thunder shock everybody, but they get the center that they think is the best guy in the draft. Sort of paying through. Again, you saw most of the picks. 13, we got Ngombo. You see Damian Cannon immediately goes after, so obviously the Rockets saw very highly of him. Massenberg, Howard Foster, the really good shooting center, goes to Minnesota, which is interesting because maybe they're doing something with Karl Anthony Towns there. Lewis Wade goes to Cleveland. Brian Hardy, who I think is going to be a bum, but the Bulls still took him. Maggette Lewis Jr., Justice Cooper Dyke, a really good shooter, ends up going to Atlanta, who's now going to be the replacement for the guy that we just got in Herder. Battier, Thomas Fleming. Again, so many talented players, especially in the first round of this draft. I think we got the one that fits us the best, though. And so for Theodore, we're going to sign him to a 2-year, $7.87 million deal. That feels good to me. I'm happy we got him. He's going to be great in this team. I'm crossing my fingers as I need a hit in this draft pick. For team and player options, Jordan Poole is an absolute no-brainer to bring back. We 100% need him on this team. He was a great backup point guard. I want him right back. We also have Zach Collins as well, who again, I know he isn't necessarily doing the best, but he was great for us off the bench. We're going to need a guy like him that can get the job done. I'm looking at some of the interesting ones. James Harden declines his. Kyrie Irving declines his. Bradley Beal declines his. Westbrook opts in. Wall obviously opts in with that massive contract. Portis Jr. declines. Horford. There is obviously a stark drop off from some of these top guys to then some of the other ones, but still, of the players with an option, there are some W ones in there. Now, free agency's done, and I'm going to warn you now, we didn't make any big splashy moves because I didn't feel like a lot of the players there really fit our team, or we had young guys that I think can be just as good as them, if not potentially better. So what we have right now, looking at our squad, point guards going into this part, we may still make some trades here. We have Cole Anthony, Jordan Poole, and the addition of Nico Mannion in free agency. At the shooting guard spot, Kevin Herter ends up being significantly better than last year, goes up to a 79 overall. Gotta love that. We see Seth Curry go a +1 to a 76, and then Bomaro is still there, who could be trade bait at some point. We got to figure out what we want to do with him. He's at a 74. Horton Tucker, we have Terrence Mann still there, and then we also have Carl Ross, who we brought in. He was an undrafted free agent that we thought had good potential. We wanted to bring him in. Horton Tucker, again, I'm not still sold on. We know what Terrence Mann can essentially do for us. It's just, we find somebody better at small forward. Is Horton Tucker trade bait? Do we use one of these guys to get a draft pick this season? There's a lot of things to figure out. Small forward, you already know we have Ngombo. Kevon Looney's back. Johnny Galloway we brought back because I think he did pretty well last year. Even though he's 27, he still did really well. And then Isaiah Todd, he's still here. We'll get him playing time at some point, I promise. And then at center, we have Şengün. We have Willie Cauley-Stein, who we brought back in free agency. And we also have Zach Collins, who, again, we moved from power forward to center because we just had a log jam at power forward, and we still want to give him some effort in this game. Now, breaking down how the progression ultimately went, Ngombo obviously is a rookie, so he doesn't increase at all. But we see Cole Anthony go up to an 80, Herter up to a 79, Horton Tucker to 78, Poole at a 78, Terrence Mann goes up to a 77, Şengün's to a 76. Curry goes down 2, which may mean that it's time to make him trade bait. He is 31. He's on a 2-year deal, or excuse me, a 3-year deal now. Zach Collins up to a 75. Cauley-Stein stays stagnant at 74. Bomaro goes up 2 to a 74. Maybe we do keep him. He's obviously increasing a little bit. Kevon Looney just stays at a 73. Johnny Galloway does go down a little bit. Carl Ross is there. Isaiah Todd goes up 1, as does Nico Mannion. So again, a lot of talented players, but we are very young. We don't really have a go-to scorer, you could argue right now, which is probably our biggest issue. I want to try to solve that. If you care about Summer League, our Summer League team was okay. We got all the way to the quarterfinals, and then we ultimately lose to Atlanta. But still, from this, the Hawks, remember, have Nashawn Highland, who scored 45 on us. It feels like a revenge game. If you look at our side, Bomaro has 21, Galloway goes 20, and Ngombo has 16 and 11 in that game. Şengün is 12, 9, and 2. Nico Mannion is 10. There were some people that put up some numbers there. I'm not mad. The All-Star game, if you care about that, if we get anybody in that game this year, will be held in Toronto. Spent entirely too long looking at potential draft pick options and potential trade packages and looking at a lot of different things. And the trade that we've settled on is this one. We're sending Seth Curry out because he's regressing and he still is getting paid fairly decent. Taylor Horton Tucker, who just is a little bit too small for what I wanted a small forward, no pun intended. For Aaron Gordon, the 2026 first round pick for Miami that's unprotected. The first round pick is a nice throw-in because I think Miami by that point is going to be losing a lot of their main stars and may be really bad. They saw the trade for Aaron Gordon and they got rid of Duncan Robinson for him, and that isn't necessarily working out for him. They have a massive contract. We have tons of cap space. We can take on a deal like his. This is basically a contract for contract swap, but getting another first round pick as we start looking at these drafts in the future, we missed out on a lot of people because we couldn't trade up. We didn't really have the draft capital like OKC does to move up. With another first round draft pick and a guy that can definitely score and loves to shoot a lot and get to the bucket athletically, this could be a win-win across all sides. So with that massive trade out of the way, now here's what our starting lineup looks like. Cole Anthony, 81, Kevin Herter, Aaron Gordon is small forward. Ngombo playing power forward. Şengün playing center, which again, I think he's going to have a great year for us this year. Jordan Poole, Terrence Mann, Willie Cauley-Stein, Zach Collins, Bolmaro, and Kevon Looney all off the bench. This to me feels like fairly good balance. I feel like our biggest issue right now, though, is we don't really have enough guards maybe coming off the bench, so we'll look at that and see if we can address it. We have found what we need at shooting guard. I think the combination of this guy and Kevin Huerter is going to be a really good one for a long time, but we have to give up a 2024 first round draft pick. Carl Ross, who we picked up, obviously is sort of like a, oh, we found him. And Willie Cauley-Stein, who I don't want to get rid of, but he is the perfect salary to make this happen. We try to throw in Zach Collins. Zach Collins makes too much money. Cauley-Stein to the perfect spot. But those three guys would give us Kevin Porter Jr. and Jae'Sean Tate. Porter Jr. is a really interesting one. He's super talented. He has a ton of badges already. And then if you look at sort of his contract, you have to basically try to make sure that we re-sign him. So is it a gamble? Absolutely. But am I willing to take this gamble to try to get Kevin Porter Jr. to stay in Louisville? I'm willing to pay him big. Let's make it happen. That ultimately puts our lineup looking like this: Cole Anthony, Kevin Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Theodore Ngombo, Şengün. Kevin Huerter's our first guy off the bench. Jordan Poole comes there as well. Jae'Sean Tate, we'll see what he does. Maybe he's the guy that's here long term. Maybe he's not. Terrence Mann, Zach Collins, Bolmaro. I think we're obviously going to drop Bolmaro. We're going to run like a 12-man rotation, I think, initially. Just because Bolmaro is not going to be as important to us. I think in the early moments, we're going to need more basically from Kevon Looney. Probably is from Galloway as well. Isaiah Todd, I promise he will get some playing time at some point this season. We'll figure out, we'll swap him in for Galloway right now. He's a young dude. We'll find a way to get him on the court. But this is what our team is ultimately going to be looking like. I'm excited. I think we have built a very good potential team that can make a run this year. I don't know what that run is. Maybe it's the lower end of the playoff seeds, but I think with some of these dudes getting the minutes, Porter Jr. can score, Aaron Gordon can score, Ngombo should be a stud. Şengün showed incredible potential last year. I'm excited to see what this young team can ultimately do. It is a crazy off season, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be starting the next episode, jumping into the season to see how the team ultimately does. Give me your predictions in the comments down below. How do you think this team's going to do? Who's going to be our number one scorer? Who's going to be the breakout star? Who's going to disappoint? I want to hear it all. Be safe, be smart, tell somebody you love them. Catch you guys on the next one.